Hey guys, before we start, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment if you have any feedback. Let's go to the story. Hey, everyone. I never thought I'd be posting here, but life has a way of throwing curveballs. For context, I'm Max, 23M, and I grew up in Oakdale, a small town where everyone knows your business before you do. The kind of place where your entire future feels predetermined before you even hit high school. I also happen to be a twin, but not in the cool, psychic connection, best friends for life way. No, my twin, Ethan, was the main character of our story. I was just there. And when I tell you that my parents worshiped the ground he walked on, I mean it. I spent my whole life watching him get everything handed to him while I was treated like an afterthought. But then, a lottery ticket changed everything. Growing up, it was clear Ethan was the golden boy. Perfect hair, perfect smile, quarterback of the football team. The kind of guy who could trip on air and somehow make it look cool. Teachers, coaches, neighbors, everyone loved him. Ethan's going places, they'd say, like he was the next big thing. Meanwhile, I was just Max. Nothing special. No big talents. No big plans. While Ethan was out getting scouted for football scholarships, I was working night shifts at the local warehouse, stacking boxes and trying not to fall asleep. And my parents? They didn't exactly hide their favoritism. Ethan has so much potential. Mom would say at dinner, practically glowing. And me? Max got Employee of the Month, I'd mumble. Cue the awkward silence. Then right back to Ethan. Because in our family, he was the investment. I was the backup plan. It wasn't that they were cruel. They just didn't see me the way they saw him. Ethan got the best football gear, the newest clothes, and the biggest celebrations. I got hand-me-downs and gas money if I was lucky. But the only person who never made me feel like I was second best? My grandpa. He was old school. Quiet. A man of few words, but sharp as hell. He'd sit with me on the porch, hands resting on his cane, and just watch the world. One night, when I was 16, he asked me something that stuck with me. Kid, you ever think about what you want? I kicked at the dirt. Sure, but nobody else does. He chuckled, shaking his head. That's their mistake, not yours. I didn't get it then, but I would soon. Senior year came faster than I expected. For Ethan, it was one big victory lap. For me, I was just counting down the days until I could finally leave. Ethan's life was a highlight reel: scouts, parties, awards. Meanwhile, I was just trying to afford new work boots. The only thing getting me through the days? Jake, my best friend, my warehouse work buddy, the guy who made even the most miserable shift feel like a comedy show. Dude, he'd say, looking at a stack of boxes, we're out here living the dream, huh? Laugh to keep from crying. That was our thing. Graduation came faster than I wanted. Not because I was excited, because I knew exactly what was coming. Ethan's big moment. Ethan's big celebration. Ethan's big everything. And me? I just wanted to get it over with. But I had no idea just how much worse it was going to be. Graduation night was one big Ethan appreciation event. Our backyard? Completely transformed. Fairy lights, banners, catered food. You'd think we were celebrating royalty. I just stood there, letting it all sink in. Then came the grand finale. Mom and Dad exchanged that look. You know the one. The get ready to have your mind blown look. Then Dad pulled out a key fob. Ethan's eyes went wide. The crowd went silent. And then, we all walked outside. To find a brand new Jeep Wrangler. Metallic blue. Top down. A dream car sitting in our driveway. Ethan lost his mind. Jumping around. Revving the engine. His friends were screaming like they had won the lottery. Me? I stood in the back, waiting for my turn. Because surely, my parents had something planned for me. Right? Right? Mom turned to me, smiling. And for you, Max? She handed me a white envelope. I forced a smile. Maybe it was a check for college. Maybe tickets to a game. Something. Anything. I opened it. Inside? A $25 gas station gift card. And a lottery ticket. Silence. Then, there were awkward chuckles. Someone whispered, damn. Jake nudged me. Hey, at least now you can buy that Xbox controller you wanted. I forced a laugh. Because what else do you do when your parents make a joke out of you? I watched as Ethan and his friends piled into his brand new Jeep, already planning their next adventure. Mom hugged me, whispering something about bigger things ahead. But her voice? It was drowned out by the sound of Ethan's engine. And as I stood there, clutching a gas card and a lottery ticket, something settled in my chest. This wasn't just about a gift. This was proof. Proof that I wasn't worth the big gestures, the grand surprises, the second thought. Just an afterthought. With a lottery ticket. That night, I sat in my room, staring at the ticket. I wasn't much of a gambler. Never saw the point. But something boredom, frustration, or maybe just blind hope, made me grab my phone. I scanned it. The numbers appeared on the screen. $7 million. My breath caught in my throat. I read it again. $7 million. I let out a weird sound, part laugh, part gasp, part holy heck. Because in that moment, everything changed. I sat there, staring at my phone like it had just grown legs and started dancing. $7 million. $7 million. My brain refused to process it. Because there was no way this was real, right? People like me didn't win the lottery. People like me didn't win anything. I checked the numbers again, then again, then again, until my eyes started watering. But every time, it said the same thing. Jackpot. My heart was slamming against my ribs. My hands were shaking. I felt like I had just been electrocuted. Because of this? This wasn't just money. This was a way out. The first person I called? Jake. He picked up after 2 rings, sounding half asleep. Dude, it's midnight. What do you want? I took a deep breath. I just won the lottery. Silence. Then, foolishness. I'm serious. I sent him a screenshot. 5 seconds later, I heard a thud. Did you just fall out of bed? Shut up. Hold on. More rustling. A long pause. Then, Max, what the F? We spent the next hour freaking out together. Dude, this is insane. What are you gonna do? That was the $1 million question. Or, well, the $7 million question. Because for the first time in my life, I had options. I could go to college, start a business, move somewhere far away from here. For the first time ever, I wasn't stuck. I wasn't trapped in the life my parents had mapped out for me. I was free. And that was terrifying. I barely slept that night. My mind was spinning. Every 5 minutes, I'd check my phone just to make sure the numbers were still there, that it wasn't some kind of cruel joke. But every time, it was real. By the time morning rolled around, I knew exactly what I had to do. Step 1, cash the ticket. Step 2, disappear. I played it cool at breakfast. Sat there, sipping my coffee while my parents gushed over Ethan's Jeep. He's gonna look so good driving to college in that, Mom beamed. Dad nodded. A man deserves to ride in style. I almost laughed. Because if they only knew, if they had any idea what was coming, they'd be kissing my ass. Jake drove me to the lottery office. I wasn't about to risk walking into that place alone. The whole ride there, I kept waiting for something to go wrong. For someone to call and say, oops, we made a mistake. You actually won $7. But no, it was real. I filled out the paperwork, showed them my ID, and just like that, I was a millionaire. I took the lump sum. After taxes, just over $4.2 million. $4 million. More money than I'd ever seen in my life. More money than my parents had ever made combined. I didn't even know what to do with it. I just sat there, staring at the check, my brain short-circuiting. Then, Jake nudged me. Dude, we need to celebrate. And you know what? He was right. Because of this was the start of a new life. I opened a new bank account, hired a financial advisor. Because if there was one thing I wasn't going to do, it ended up being broken in 5 years. I told the advisor one thing. Help me make this money last forever. He nodded. Smart move. And just like that, my future wasn't just a dream. It was happening. That night, Jake and I drove to the city, booked a penthouse suite, ordered room service like kings. We weren't reckless, no wild parties, no blowing money on stupid stuff. But for the first time in my life, I felt like I was in control. I wasn't just waiting for life to happen to me. I was making it happen. And damn, it felt good. I didn't tell my parents. Not yet. Because deep down, I knew exactly what was going to happen when they found out. I knew exactly who they'd turn into. And I wasn't ready to deal with that. Not yet. So for now, I let them think I was still just Max, the nobody. Still just an afterthought. But soon, they were going to learn exactly who I was. And when they did, they wouldn't know what hit them. The thing about money? It changes everything. Not just how people see you, but how you see yourself. For the first time, I wasn't waking up feeling like I was already 10 steps behind. I wasn't worried about how I was going to afford rent, or gas, or food. I was free. But freedom comes with a price. And I was about to find out exactly how much it cost. I kept my win a secret for as long as I could. Only Jake knew, and I trusted him with my life. But in a small town like Oakdale, secrets don't stay secrets for long. I don't know who found out first. Maybe it was someone at the lottery office. Maybe it was some random banker who saw my account balance. But one day, I was just Max, the warehouse guy. And the next, everyone was looking at me like I was a damn celebrity. It started with old classmates. People who hadn't spoken to me in years suddenly wanted to catch up. Hey man, Long time no see. We should grab a drink. Then, distant relatives. Cousins I barely knew were popping up in my DMs. Hey, cuz. It's been forever. How have you been? I knew exactly what they wanted, and I wasn't stupid enough to fall for it. But the real storm? That came from my parents. The moment they found out, it was like someone had flipped a switch. Gone was the apathetic disappointment. Gone was the, oh, Max is just their attitude. No, I was their miracle child, their golden son. And suddenly, they loved me. Mom called first. Sweetheart, why didn't you tell us? We're so proud of you. Proud. That was funny. Because last week, I wasn't even worth a real graduation gift. No, they couldn't stop calling me. Dad wasn't much better. He tried to act like it was no big deal, like he was just checking in, but I could hear it in his voice. The calculation, the expectation, like he was waiting for me to offer something. And when I didn't, that's when the real guilt trip started. You know, Max, family helps family. I almost laughed, because of the irony. It was unbearable. Family helps family? Since when? Since when did they ever help me? I wanted to say it, wanted to throw it all back in his face. But instead, I just smiled. Of course, Dad. And I let him think he had one. Because if they wanted to play games, fine, let's play. But this time, I was the one holding all the cards. I agreed to meet them for dinner. Same old dining table. It's the same old family. But now, I wasn't the invisible son. No, I was the prize. And watching them scramble to pretend they had always cared about me, it was almost entertaining. Mom was all smiles. Oh, sweetheart, we're just so happy for you. Dad nodded. This is a great opportunity. For all of us. There it was. For all of us. Not for me. For them. And that told me everything I needed to know. Ethan? Ethan looked pissed. He barely said a word the whole night. Just sat there, gripping his fork like he wanted to snap it in half. Because for the first time, I wasn't the one in his shadow. He was in mine. And he hated it. Then came the real reason we were here. Because, of course, this wasn't just a family dinner. This wasn't just them celebrating my success. This was a pitch meeting. Max, Mom said sweetly, your father and I were talking, and we think it's time to start planning for the future. I leaned back, amused. Oh yeah. Yes, she beamed. We could use your help. And there it was. Not congratulations. Not, what are your plans? Just a polite request for my bank account. And the worst part? They thought I'd say yes. I let them talk. Let them spin their grand ideas. Dad wanted to expand his business. Mom thought a bigger house would be smart. And Ethan? Ethan wanted a second Jeep. Because, of course, he did. You're in a position to help us now, Max, Dad said. We're family, after all. I set down my fork, smiling. You're right, Dad. We are. Mom's face lit up. Ethan smirked. They thought they had me. They thought I was about to hand it all over. But instead, I stood up, stretching. I'll think about it. Then, I walked out, without paying the bill. And the look on their faces? Priceless. The moment I walked out of that restaurant, I knew two things. One, my parents weren't going to let this go. And two, I had never felt better. For the first time, I wasn't just sitting there, letting them treat me like an afterthought. For the first time, I had the power, and I wasn't giving it back. I didn't hear from them for a few days, but I knew that silence, it wasn't peace. It was strategy. They were regrouping, figuring out their next move. And sure enough, when the calls finally came, they were relentless. First, it was Mom. Sweetheart, we didn't mean to pressure you. We just know how generous you are. Then Dad, you're a man now, Max. A man takes care of his family. Then Ethan, bro, you're seriously gonna let money come between us? I ignored all of them, blocked their numbers, because I knew exactly what this was. It wasn't about family. It was about control, and I wasn't falling for it. Jake and I spent the next few weeks getting my life together. New place, new car, a completely different future. And man, it felt good. But my parents? They weren't done yet. Because when guilt didn't work, they tried something worse. I was sitting in my new apartment when Jake called. Dude, turn on Facebook. Right now. I grabbed my laptop, opened the app, and there it was. A post from my mother. A long, dramatic, painfully fake post about how I had abandoned them. After everything we sacrificed for him, he just walked away. Money changed him. It took our son away. Hundreds of comments. People sympathizing. People call me selfish. People saying things like, wow, I'd do anything for my family if I had that kind of money. I clenched my jaw, because now, they weren't just trying to manipulate me. They were trying to ruin me. Jake whistled. Damn, they went full soap opera on you. I laughed, shaking my head. Let them. This just proves I made the right call. And I meant it. Because if they were willing to do this, they had never loved me at all. Not really. Just the idea of what I could give them. I didn't respond. Didn't post my side. Didn't engage at all. Because I knew something they didn't. Something that was going to shock the hell out of them. See, while they were busy spinning sob stories online, I had been making moves. Big ones. Ones that would change my life forever. And soon, they were going to find out exactly what I had done. A week later, I called a family meeting. Not because I owed them anything, but because I wanted to see their faces when I dropped the bomb. We met at the house. The same house I had grown up in. Sitting at the same table where I had been ignored for years. Dad leaned back in his chair. Glad to see you're finally coming to your senses. Mom nodded, wiping a fake tear. We knew you'd do the right thing, sweetheart. Ethan smirked, like he had already won. Like I was about to pull out my checkbook and fix their problems. And that's when I smiled. Because they had no idea what was coming. I took a deep breath. I wanted to tell you this in person. I slid an envelope across the table. Mom grabbed it first, ripping it open. Her face went pale. Dad's jaw clenches. Ethan frowned. What is this? I leaned back, smirking. It's proof that I just moved to California. Silence. And that I used my money to start a business there. More silence. Which means, I'm leaving. For good. Mom's lip trembled. You're just going to walk away from us? I tilted my head. You mean the way you walked away from me my whole life? Dad's face reddened. You're making a mistake. Mac's family is everything. I stood up. No, Dad. Family is supposed to love you, not use you. Then, I grabbed my bag, headed for the door. And this time, I didn't wait for their approval. Because I didn't need it. Not anymore. Walking out of that house for the last time should have felt bittersweet. But it didn't. It felt right. For the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for their approval. I wasn't hoping for some last-minute change of heart. I was done. And man, it felt good. Jake was waiting for me outside. So, how'd it go? I laughed. Exactly how I thought it would. A lot of guilt, a lot of shock, and absolutely no accountability. He shook his head. You sure you don't want to post your side? Just to shut down their sob story. I thought about it. For about 2 seconds. Then, I shook my head. Nah, let them talk. I don't care what they think anymore. And that was the truth. Over the next few weeks, I finalized everything. Moved into my new place. Signed the last papers for my business. Closed the last chapter of my old life. And you know what? It was easier than I thought it would be. Because when you've spent your whole life being treated like you're nothing special, it's not that hard to walk away. I stayed no contact. No calls. No messages. No updates. But my parents? They didn't take the hint. The first email came about a month later. Mom, sweetheart, we miss you. We just want to talk. I ignored it. 2 weeks later, another. Dad, son, it's time to come home. Let's put this nonsense behind us. Like this was some petty argument. Like they hadn't spent my entire life treating me like I was invisible. I hit delete. Then, one last attempt. From Ethan. And this one was different. Because it wasn't guilt. It wasn't fake love. It was pure jealousy. Ethan, hope you're enjoying playing rich. Just don't forget, money doesn't make you better than us. I laughed. Because of the irony, was painful. For years, he was the one with everything. The one everyone admired. The one who got to look down on me. And now, he was the one scrambling to feel important. It was pathetic. So I did what I should have done years ago. I blocked them all. Life got quiet. And for the first time, I liked it that way. No drama. No expectations. No waking up with that sinking feeling in my chest. Just peace. And damn, it felt good. One day, Jake and I were sitting in my office. The business was doing better than I had ever imagined. We had employees, contracts, growth. And I was happy. Jake grinned. So, Max, now that you're rolling in cash, what's next? I thought about it. Then I smiled. Whatever the hell I want. And for the first time, I meant it. Do you know what's funny? I spent my whole life thinking small. Thinking about how to get through the next shift, the next bill, the next month. But now, I wasn't just surviving. I was living. And the more time passed, the more I realized. I had wasted so much energy caring about people who never cared about me. And I wasn't doing that anymore. My business took off faster than I expected. We were bringing in real money. Enough that I could finally start giving back. And not to my parents. Not to Ethan. But to my real family. The people who had been there for me. The first thing I did? I took Jake on a week-long trip to Europe. Because after all the years of us suffering together at the warehouse, we deserved it. I booked the most insane hotels. We ate at 5-star restaurants. We walked into luxury stores like we belonged there. And the whole time, Jake kept looking at me like he couldn't believe it. Dude, you made it. And for the first time, I felt it. But the best part? The part that made every moment worth it? That was what I did when we got back. Because there was one more person I needed to take care of. My grandpa. The only person who ever made me feel like I was enough. He was still living in the same small house. Same old chair on the front porch. The same tired look was in his eyes. I sat down next to him. He didn't say anything. Just took a slow sip of his coffee and waited. Because he already knew something was up. Finally, I spoke. I bought you a house. No reaction. Just another sip. Then, huh. I laughed. That's it. Just huh. He shrugged. Well, you always were the smart one. That night, I took him to see it. It wasn't a mansion. It wasn't over the top. But it was his. Big yard. Quiet neighborhood. A place where he could finally relax. And as we stood in the doorway, I saw something I'd never seen before. Tears in his eyes. He grunted, wiping them away. Damn allergies. But I knew. And that was worth more than any amount of money. A week later, I got another email from my parents. I almost deleted it without reading it. But something made me pause. Because this one, it wasn't from Mom or Dad. It was from Ethan. And the subject line? I need your help. I opened it. Skimmed the words. And just like that, everything made sense. Ethan wasn't doing so great. College hadn't worked out. The Jeep was gone. He was back home, stuck, struggling. And now he needed me. The same brother he had spent his entire life looking down on. The same brother he had laughed at for being a nobody. The same brother who had been handed a lottery ticket and turned it into something real. And now he wanted a piece of it. He ended the email with, "Let's just put the past behind us, bro. We're family. Family. That word again. That damn word. Like it was supposed to erase everything. Like I was supposed to just forget. Like he hadn't spent years reminding me that I was less." I closed the email. Sat back. Thought about it. Then, I deleted it. No reply. No second chances. Because the thing about burning bridges? Sometimes, they need to stay burned. Have you ever noticed how people only say, "We're family," when they need something? Because when I was broke, when I was just Max the nobody, that word didn't mean a damn thing to them. But now, it was their favorite word. And I was done hearing it. I never replied to Ethan's email. Never explained myself. Never gave him the closure he was looking for. Because at the end of the day, I wasn't responsible for him. He had been given every advantage, every opportunity, and he had wasted all of it. That wasn't my fault. And it sure as hell wasn't my problem. A few months later, I heard through the grapevine that my parents had sold the house. Money problems. Guess they didn't plan for a future where their golden child wasn't successful. The son they ignored was the only one who made it out. Poetic, isn't it? They spent years investing in Ethan. But in the end, I was the one who won. And they hated it. Sometimes, people ask me if I regret cutting them off. If I ever feel bad about walking away. The answer? Not even a little. Because the second I stopped chasing their approval, the second I stopped waiting for them to love me, I started living. And I'll never go back. Jake and I are still running the business. It's bigger than I ever imagined. We travel. We work hard. We enjoy life. And every once in a while, I sit back and think about that night. The night I was standing in my parents' driveway, holding a lottery ticket and a gas card. That night, I realized that I was never going to be their priority. And now, it doesn't hurt anymore. Because I don't need them. Never did. Never will. I have my own family now. Not the one I was born into. The one I chose. And that's worth more than any amount of money. Even $7 million.